And we're back. Just like that. We're back in action. I am super stoked to be back doing these videos. They really do put a certain creative drive in me that I really enjoy. I thoroughly enjoy doing these videos. Welcome back to another segment of Crazy Art History Stories. We're gonna jump right into it. Well, after a few little disclaimers. Okay, first of all, Happy New Year. 2021 was rough. Okay, rough for a lot of us, pandemic-wise, economic-wise, mental health-wise. Okay, we were all struggling there. And we are all hoping and wishing for a better year. And I can already feel it. I believe that this year is going to deliver on that. Except for the Betty White part, that part sucked. That part sucked. We are going to be talking about something that I've been wanting to speak on for a very long time. This topic is something I learned about a few years ago, actually, just in a YouTube hole, as one does. But yes, this topic it spills into a lot of other things, okay? So I need to put a little disclaimer out there just to keep y'all safe, keep your minds safe. This video, we're going to be talking about murder, drug usage, AIDS, things of that nature. So if you do not want to hear about things like that, totally fine. Just catch another video of mine or go watch something that makes you happy and feel fuzzy. But if you are intrigued, interested, and you want to hear about these things, let's talk about it. So I'm going to jump you right into the midst of things, okay? Picture this. You are in your 20s, okay? You're in your 20s and you are living in New York. And now we're in the 90s, okay? We're in the 90s, straight up 1990, okay? Nobody thought that they were gonna see 1990. We are in the throes of a AIDS epidemic. People's friends are dying. The club scene in particular is bleak, okay? Very bleak. Nobody wants to have sex. Nobody wants to go out. It's a bleak, dark time, okay? So in this time, there is a young man named Michael Alig. And Michael Alig is a college dropout who has this great idea that he is going to become a club promoter. And so you're thinking, okay, if the club scene is looking pretty freaking bleak, is that a good choice, Michael? Well, actually it was, because he had a great idea. Let me give you a little description on Sir Michael Alig. Has to be seen, and he will make himself be seen. He is the life of the party. And he doesn't even have to be, messed up to be the life of the party. That's just his personality. That's just who he is. He is the life of the party. So Alig decides, yeah, I'm going to become a club promoter, and I'm going to start a new thing, a new craze, newness. I'm bringing freshness to this drab, bleak world that we live in right now. So that's exactly what he does. Michael decides to take all of his craziness, all of the wildness that is in him. I don't even know what I'm doing on my face, by the way. So he decides to take all of his craziness and get together with a few other club producers and promoters, business people, investors. And he's like, I got this idea. We're going to bring the club scene back, but it's not going to be about celebrity. It's not going to be about who you know or money. It's going to be about the vibes, okay? It's going to be about dressing and becoming different characters. He was a very outgoing person, and so he got a lot of attention. And he collected a group of people that would be known as the club kids. And these club kids were a young, weird people who, and I say weird in a good way, okay? Weird people who they're black, brown, Hispanic, queer, trans, whoever, and he's like, come on, I got this place for you, okay? You can literally be whoever you want to be. You can dress however you want to dress. And that was the start of Club Kids, which is honestly really cool if you think about it. Like, in a time where I'm sure it was very hard to walk on the street as yourself, way harder than it is now. It's still sucky now, especially as trans, queer, drag, whatever people. It's still hard. But back then, 10 times harder, okay? But this is a safe place for you to express and to live out your dreams, do your art. It could be your art. So I'm gonna definitely show you a few pictures of what some of these people look like. And it was insane. It was crazy. It was awesome. The art and the fashion that came from this era is impeccable. Like, you can see it in today's society. You can see it on the runway. You can see it on many avant-garde artists nowadays. It's very, very much camp, okay? Very much throw on literally everything you can possibly find and make it look good. And like I said, these parties, it had nothing to do with celebritons. It had nothing to do with money or who you knew. It was all about how you looked. If you, the crazier, the better. I'm going to give you a little description of like what something that you could see from these parties. Imagine somebody walking in and they have feathers taped to their eyelashes, a noodle wig, they're wrapped in wrapping present paper, and I don't know, like go-go boots and a sailor suit, something like that. That is what, you know, the vibe was. And it was the crazier, literally, the better. Everybody came to see what everybody else was wearing. That was the big thing. Okay, what are you wearing? What's going on? All of these, you know, people who felt like they were outcasts, felt like they didn't have anywhere to go, or anyone that would accept them. They could live their dreams in the night. They could be literally whoever they wanted to be. The clubs, they would put together art installations, paint, do all of these wild things. And that was the start of the Club Kids. And that was in the early 1990s. And honestly, if you think about it from a art perspective, it was a beautiful thing because it influenced so many things that we love today. Drag race, okay? It influenced a lot of the fashion that now is in the drag community. I'm not saying that it created drag, no, because drag was a thing well before the 90s, okay? Club Kids didn't invent drag, but they definitely help influence the fashion world from decades on, okay? Which is a big feat to do. So I was also thinking, I was like, okay, this is yeah, they're dressing wild. It's all about the expression and the art. They can't be the first people to do stuff like this, right? Can't be. Well, they were not. So I was doing a little digging, and across the pond in the 70s, there was this fad going on called the Blitz Kids. Sound familiar? Well, the Blitz was a club in England, and they were coming out of the David Bowie era. They wanted to be punk but anti-punk, like we're taking off the black and the leather and we're giving you fur coats, we're giving you excess, we're giving you color, we're giving you crazy hair, makeup, I mean wild makeup. And they would go out, they would dance, they would go to the Blitz, they would drink, they would dance, and it was all about the fashion. It was all about the look. Just like the Club Kids, it wasn't about who was there, if Kim Kardashian was there, or if you saw LeBron James sipping a Henny in the corner. It wasn't about that at all. It was about everyday people, artists, creatives coming together, throwing on something fabulous and going out together. So I was thinking it's quite possible that maybe Michael Alig, the guy that created Club Kids, possibly was influenced or inspired by the Blitz Kids. So the Blitz Kids happened in the 70s and they kind of died off in the 80s. And then the 90s, boom, you've got over across the pond in our land, the Club Kids. So, no idea is completely original. I'm sure that there was some kind of influence, you know what I mean? But the Club Kids was very, very interesting to New York, to the United States, because nobody had ever seen anyone dressing and acting like that. They were all about liberation, they were about free expression, and they were catering to people who were outcasts and who felt like they didn't have a group to be in. There were many talk show hosts that had Club Kids on there. There was this one show called Geraldo. I don't remember the Geraldo show, but freaking Geraldo had them on the show maybe like 3-4 times, like consecutively. And honestly, if you look back, you can see some of these videos on YouTube. This Geraldo guy was very condescending. I feel like he only put like wanted them to be on the show because to make fun of them, but it really didn't work because these kids didn't care. They absolutely did not care that people didn't like them or thought that, oh, these are people who don't have jobs and we need to save our kids from. They didn't care. Their whole idea and their whole goal was to inspire people and to live through their art, to be their art, walking art, pretty much. That was their whole point. They didn't care if other people didn't like it, whatever. So these parties went on, and they would take the party from the club to the subway and then on down to the chicken shop, get some food, and you could tell who these kids were by looking at them. You could tell, and there's got to be those Club Kids. Look, they're wearing wigs on their knees. Over time, everything kind of comes to an end. And this, for the Club Kids, truly came to a tragic end, and we'll get into why. So as time went on, Michael Alig became more and more outrageous, more and more attention seeking. I think the more attention and fame that he got, the more that he wanted to push the envelope, and sometimes in not the best ways. He would do things like pay people to get naked on stage because he wanted, some live entertainment. He would also play a trick on his friends and pee into a cup and make them drink the pee. Okay, like we're talking about like a guy who really doesn't care about anything or anyone, seems like. He's all about the image, the excess, the craziness. And another point about the Club Kids and also the Blitz Kids as well, and these are people with the mindset that F capitalism, but at the same time, let's make fun of it by indulging in it so heavily. Meaning, let's put on literally every piece of clothing that we have, all of our gadgets, our gizmos, all of our jewelry, and let's make it look so good that it looks so bad. They were making a statement. They were trying to make a statement. And they were also having fun. Like point blank, they were just trying to have fun. But like I said, usually fun like that, it comes to an end at some point for some reason. And the big reason why a lot of things come to an end is drugs. I mean, we all know the club scene. Most club scenes, there is a big drinking scene. There's a big drug scene within these communities. It kind of goes hand in hand. It sucks that that it's that way. It shouldn't be, doesn't have to be. But it is, and drugs ruin everything. That's just my PSA. Michael is not only, he doesn't care that it's getting out of control because he's partaking in it too, to a deadly degree. He is, and not just the fun, light drugs, if I can even say that. I'm talking the really deadly, horrible, you know, the really bad stuff, the life altering, just really bad stuff. He was dabbling into that. And it's around this time where he's kind of in the beginning throes of his addiction and also the height of club kids that he meets a man by the name of Angel. Now, Angel was a very young Hispanic gay man who moved to New York to be a club kid. He saw what they were doing on TV. He saw the parties, the interviews, and oh my gosh, he wanted to be a part of that. He wanted that acceptance. He wanted to be a part of that community, which it's so sad, but like, he dropped everything and tried to sell drugs to make money and to make it out in New York. And he meets Michael, which honestly is probably the worst freaking thing that could possibly happen to poor Angel, is that he meets this dude named Michael. Let me tell you another thing about Michael, okay? Michael is one of those dudes who never has his own, okay? You know those people. They don't have their own place. They don't have their own things to do things with. They don't have their own money. It's all because, and even though he was making plenty of money from these shows and from the, you know, these clubs, but guess what he was using it all on? And then after that was gone, I mean, he's trying to get everybody else's. So eventually Michael and Angel meet and they become friends. And then quickly they become so close that Angel moves in with Michael, which I'm pretty sure wasn't even really his own apartment. It was probably staying with somebody else, because that's just the kind of guy he was. So they move in together, and this is where the club kids' tragic end begins. On a fateful day in 1996, March, I believe, of 1996, Michael Alig, the creator of Club Kids, Angel, and another unknown person who I don't care enough to look up his name because he's awful, they're all chilling in Michael's apartment. So they're chilling, they're probably doing drugs, and this unknown person that I'm not naming overhears a scuffle between Michael and Angel. And to where they go, they see what's going on. They say that they saw Angel grabbing Michael, had him pinned on the ground, and Michael is yelling, "Help me, get him off of me, get him off of me." I say it so condescending like this because I don't truly believe that that is the way that happened. Something in my gut is just telling me it didn't happen like that. But that's the story we're gonna go with. So the scuffle's happening. Angel is supposedly having Michael pinned down. And so this unknown dude who is hearing Michael scream, help me, get him off of me," he grabs a hammer that is in the house and he beats Angel on the head. Now the third blow is the blow that killed him. He hit him so hard that it knocked him completely unconscious and he died. So now what I'm guessing is happening, they're messed up, out of their minds messed up. And they're looking at him and they're like, oh, we got to do something. Duh, Sherlock, you need to do something. Call the cops. But they don't call the cops, of course, as you know, you wouldn't if you were under the influence heavily and you did something super, super wrong. You're probably not going to call the cops. You should, but you're probably not going to call the cops. So they go and they pull Angel's body into the bathroom and lay him in the tub. Now, Angel's poor body stays in that tub or in that apartment at least for a week, okay? Deceased for a week before they, I guess, sobered up enough to do something with his body. So they dismember poor Angel. How and with what, I honestly do not know. I don't want to know. Well, actually, I kind of do want to know because I'm a weird true crimer like that. But they dismember his body and they put his parts into a suitcase. Now, when the suitcase is finally found, there's only a torso and some legs in this suitcase. There are rumors around the club kids that, oh, so-and-so got a head. Oh, so-and-so got some hands and they're in their freezer. Oh, so-and-so had some feet. He didn't know what to do with it, so he buried it. We will never know, probably will never know where all of Angel is, which is so sad for his family. Like, I can only freaking imagine. Like, I don't even have a full body to put in a casket. Like, what kind of mess is that? So they take his body, dismember it, put it in a suitcase, and decide, okay, we got to dump it in the water. We got to dump it in the ocean, okay? So they take poor Angel in the suitcase, take him down to the elevator, go down and get a cab. They sit in a cab with this suitcase in the trunk. They go to their destination, wherever they asked to be taken. I'm sure it was maybe like a port or something. And they freaking dump him in the water, just like that. Michael goes on the run. Okay, it's hot there. The story is hot. The police had been notified of Angel's disappearance only because Angel's brother had filed a missing persons report, because he could not get in touch with his brother, and they look eerily alike, Angel's brother said that he did talk to, eventually, he did talk to Michael, and Michael couldn't even look at him in the eye, probably because he looked like the spitting image of his brother. I mean, honestly, how could you, But I'm also thinking, like, you better look at me in the eye. Like, you know what you did. Look at me in the eye. But I mean, I can imagine how, like, a human being, after doing something like that, yeah, you probably can't look at their family member in the eye. So Michael goes on the run. He is, like a suspect, but the police don't have anything on Michael really to truly arrest him. He honestly truly didn't even really need to go on the run, but because he's so out of his mind and all the people around him are so out of their mind, he gets a friend and convinces her to go with him on the run to Colorado. And now this friend that goes with him, she was not involved in the actual murder, but she knew about it. She didn't go to the police, and she agreed to go with him on the run. Now, some things go down while they're on the run. They're not having a fun time because they are withdrawing from all these heavy drugs. And honestly, the road trip was just not working out, bro. It wasn't a good look. They weren't having fun. It wasn't as easy as they thought it was going to be. So they decide, let's just go back. Let's just go back to New York. I bet you everything's died down. Everything's fine. Let's go back. So Michael returns back to New York, and he is trying to put the pieces back together of his broken life. He attempts to start, doing club promotions again. He tries to get back and bring back the club kids and bring back that vibe, and it completely tanks. He does not bring in the revenue he once did. People aren't really into it like they were before. And it just wasn't a hit. So he's kind of down on himself. He's like, oh, this sucks. But I mean, who cares, Michael? You killed somebody. Who cares if your career is not going well? You killed somebody. So as this is going on, he's trying to put his life back together. And it's not working. Something floats back to shore. You never get away with something like that for too long, So a body is discovered by some civilians. They smell it, they see it, and they know that something is not right. So they call the cops, as they should. They call the cops, and the body is identified as Angel, which is some closure, not complete closure, but is some closure for his family. But they find Angel. There's a little bit of evidence left within the suitcase, and with all the hearsay, the evidence, or whatever, Michael Alig is finally arrested. He is arrested and taken to jail. Now, if you want to see some things about the club kids on YouTube, there's a few videos on there. There's also a documentary made in the 90s on there as well. It's a little dated, but it's on there. There is an interview with Michael in it 3 weeks before he is arrested, which I think is very, very interesting. I'm guessing the interview was about the club kids. There was a missing club kid. Angel was missing at the time. Nobody knew what happened. Nobody knew. I'm sure people knew. They just weren't saying anything, okay? So he did this interview, and this was 3 weeks before he was arrested. And let me just tell you, he just said some nasty things about Angel in it, like calling him a wannabe, calling him a copycat, and how nobody likes a copycat. Yeah, we killed him because, and this was before the actual interview started, but there's clips of him saying this. Yeah, we killed him because he's a copycat, and nobody likes that. Excuse me, sir? Like, did you just, and then he was like, oh, I probably shouldn't say that, I can get me in trouble. Like, he was like, are you on crack? Probably. But there's also a interview with him after he is in prison and he is serving his sentence. There is a video of him, and he looks like he's sobered up a little bit. He does not even seem like the same person. He seemed like an actual human being there, and you could see that he was nervous, but still, you know, he still had that outgoing personality, but you could tell that, like, I think that the weight of what he did finally hit him, or at least I hope it did. That's just my assumption from looking at a video. So I can't tell you. So after he is arrested and he is in jail, the family has some sort of closure. The club kids are done. Okay, there are no more. The club kid dances, the parties, the whatevers, done, friend. No more. And probably for good reason. I think that it had its heyday, like a lot of fads, like a lot of, you know, trends, I guess you would call them. They always die out. They always die out because that's just how society and culture is. Culture can't stay around forever. And I heard this very interesting thought on this, is that there's culture and then there's society. And at some point, the culture turns into, nothing ever stays in culture forever. You know, it's always changing, it's always moving, it's always forming into something else. And I think that that is exactly what happened to the club kids. I think that the club kids' influence, if you take all of the good, let's take all of the drugs, the excess out, and you just focus on the art, the expression, the mindset of coming together as outcasts, building art, being new, creating a character, creating whoever you want to be. That is beautiful. That's the culture of it all, and how it influenced fashion. Oh my gosh, I see it all the time when I see runways. You know, have you ever seen those runway shows where their faces are completely covered in like this knitted type of thing, or they have like clown makeup, like huge lips and eyes? That was like a club kids element. I see that in fashion all the time. I see it in Lady Gaga's work all of the time. That has stuck around, or in the Drag Race TV show, just the drag world. I think a lot of the fashion from that time influenced drag culture, queer culture, fashion culture, and has stuck around for the test of time. I think that it will come in and out all the time. But the element of the excess of drugs and the not really caring about people's well-being, truly, you just caring about the party, that is the evil of it. That is what made it so awful, to the point where literally the creator of this what could have been great thing literally murdered somebody. And if you want to know what happened to Mr. Sir Alig, okay, he only served 17 of his 20 years for murdering and dismembering somebody. I feel like that's pretty light. I'm not gonna lie, that sounds pretty light. There are people that get sent for way less, not murder, less, and get more time than that. I have a problem with that. He only served 17 years. And as of 2020, last 2 years ago, he passed away of an overdose. So not a very glamorous life, but the influence that the club kids had, you can see it in a lot more places than you think. And I'm sure you, by some of these pictures that I put on here, you can kind of get, oh, I feel like I've seen, you know, like a fashion show of that. Oh, I'm pretty sure I've seen a Lady Gaga costume. You know what I mean? Like, it's in there. And that's culture. That is culture. Culture never dies. It just rejuvenates into something else. Nothing is ever really that original. It's just repackaged and served differently. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. And I think that we may be in a new age of club kid, because there are people out here, just everyday folks, who are really getting into streetwear. And did you know that streetwear actually was looked down upon by the fashion community years and years ago, like 20, 30, whatever years ago? Street fashion was like, ugh. And now street fashion is more expensive than like regular fashion. It's kind of wild, but that is culture. That is how things move and shift and change. And that is the story of the club kids, my friend. Oh my gosh. And look at my face. This is my club kids makeup. Check on your friends and see me for my next video. Also, arthofthecollective.com has got a sale going on right now. You can spend $45 or more and get free shipping. I've got some sales on some prints, some ornaments from last Christmas. There's a lot of awesome things on there, and we're getting ready for Valentine's Day, so you already know what that means, girls. I love you guys.